knew all the right people to call. I've obviously have built a network here over the 22 years I've been living in town, but I also knew the organizations that are with us on this issue. And so we were able to build a strong and diverse coalition in a very short time. I knocked on all the doors in the surrounding neighborhood and got the word out to community leaders, and everybody was uniformly against it. Nobody really wanted this thing, and so we were able to have a massive turnout at the City Hall meeting. We were able to generate hundreds of emails to our council members from people who actually live in New Brunswick and didn't want to see this happen. And we were ultimately able to get a lot of media attention on the victory because it was such a kind of like an epic win for the people. And that's how I ended up on Breaking Points and ended up getting a lot of accolades. But it was just 9 days from the day that we found out until the day that we defeated it. So it was a pretty wild 9 days, but I knew that it was an issue worth fighting on because I wanted to make sure our city council knew not just that they shouldn't move ahead with this project, but when somebody else comes along and proposes a data center, I wanted them to remember, how against it the people were. So we really, kind of ran up the score, and we got 200 plus people to show up at that council meeting. And I venture to say they will remember that.
If last I checked, 6.6 million, I think it was retweets or whatever you call it now on X or formerly Twitter.
On social media. Yeah, it went viral. It was wild.
And why do you think it went viral? Without, you kind of indicated some of this in your response, but why do you think, briefly, it was so popular?
Yeah, so there were a couple things. I think the big thing was just actually that our city hall is kind of small, so we were not able to all fit in the room. In fact, the city kind of went overboard and restricted access to just a handful of people. Really, they said, we're only allowing 80 people in the building, and they reserved spaces for all their insiders and made the public wait out in the cold and the rain. But, fortunately, they kept their energy up. They were marching and chanting, and we could hear them in the room chanting, vote no, vote no. And when the news of what happened on the inside of the building reached the outside of the building, there was just this moment of elation and joy that went viral just because it was a great moment. And then I think a lot of people were probably searching for New Brunswick Data Center and trying to figure out how did this fight come about and who was leading this fight. And, folks came across my tweet where I celebrated the win and pointed out that not only did we defeat the data center, but we got them to reinstate the requirement to put the park in. And that just kind of took off. So I think it was just a function of the city being overzealous with their restrictive attitude towards access to the building,